Okay, thank you once again and welcome back to the last session and not the least in this particular program. We are still on to the Career Success Summit, your career launchpad to setting a strong foundation for a successful career journey. Our next speaker is Mr. Patrick Umar Adiason. He will be sharing with us on career transitions and pivots, embracing change and reinventing yourself, how to successfully navigate career shifts and new opportunities. Mr. Patrick is a respected HR professional. He has certifications with SPHRI. He's a member of CIPM, CHRM, and he has a master's degree also. He is a focused individual in the space of people, culture, data analytics, and in career coaching. He is a transformative business leader and a people manager with more than 15 years progressive experience. He is very versatile in nonprofits, manufacturing, real estate, financial services, hospitality, oil and gas industries, and of course, he has delivered quite a lot in the public sector. All right, so please, we join hands to welcome Patrick to take us through this particular session. Mr. Patrick, thank you very much. And once again, we are sorry for the delay in timing for your session.
Hey, our Godfather, Marga, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure. Hello, everyone, and I'm glad to be here. It's been an awesome summit. From the first speaker, I didn't get his name, to Mr. Frederick, to Ogashino. It's been awesome. My notepad has been full of notes and learnings and takeaways. I think all the speakers have done nothing but justice to the spirit of this gathering today. Oga Rufus, I agree to forever loyal to your government. So glad to be here in the presence of my colleagues and, great minds to share knowledge. All right. I agree with you, Rufus. Today is a really packed day, and I mean, I was almost suffering from imposter syndrome when I heard all the lovely teachings and takeaways that were delivered by the awesome speakers that have come before me. So I'm just going to try to wrap it up. Do I have permission to share my screen? I have some slides I'd like to share.
Yes, you can share.
Okay. One second, let me share my screen. Okay, sir, please, can you confirm if my presentation screen is visible?
Very, very visible from here.
Okay, great. So, glad to be here. And today we're talking about career transitions and pivots. For many of us, our career journey is not going to be a 100-meter dash. It's going to come with twists and turns. The terrain may not be even, and we would have to traverse the only constant thing in life, which is called change. All right. And this may require us to, change direction, change momentum, and re-strategize as we aim for success in our careers. And the essence of today's session is to empower us really to cope with this change, not if, but when it happens, all right, along our career journey. I'm sure many of us in our current career paths, just assuming that we are not all HR professionals on the call, but many of us, where we are now is not where we envisioned we would be when we started the journey. But sometimes life happened, and in some other circumstances, it was as a result of a conscious decision to make that pivot. And this is where we are in the journey. So before I dive in, I like to pretend that I'm wise. So I have a couple of quotes that I always try to use to start off my session. And I think the quote that I will be hanging on to for the bulk of this presentation is was said by Peter Cheese. He said it severally, even when he came to Nigeria for the CIPM conference where he was a keynote speaker. He mentioned it there that it's no longer it's not no longer a job for life. All right, but it's now a life of jobs. And many other people over the years have re-echoed Peter Chi's thoughts. I don't want a job for life. I want a life of jobs, and I'm not alone. And clearly, she's not alone. Bill Clinton said the price of doing the same old thing is far higher than the price of change. All right, I'll just wrap this slide up again by re-echoing what Peter Chi said. The era of a job for life is over. Okay, maybe for example, my mom, before she retired, she worked for 35 years, as a civil servant in NNPC when it was still fully government owned, and she had that job for her entire career life. All right. My father of blessed memory, up until he retired, he was a lecturer in, Kaduna Polytechnic, and he did nothing. He didn't need to do anything other than that job. In fact, the only other thing my dad did, apart from his job as a lecturer, was farming. Okay. And he was happy with his job for life because in that time, during that era, they had something called the corporate ladder to climb. My mom joined the NNPC as what's maybe a laboratory analyst or something, and she retired from NNPC as the head of the lab. Okay. She had a corporate ladder to climb, and it was a clearly defined career path. All right. But I'm sorry to announce, I'm not sorry, but I have to announce, okay, that the corporate ladder is gone. And that will be my introduction to this session. The decades old career formula doesn't work anymore. Okay. Prior to now, success was predictable, if I may if I may say so. It followed a clearly defined, predictable path. And the path was very simple, right? You get a degree, you get a job in a company, you work hard at the job in that company, you will get promoted, you move up the ladder, and then one day you climb down the elevator, retired, okay? And then you live off your pension for the rest of your life. I'm sure we know and we all agree that this formula is obsolete, all right? Prior to now, success was measured in job titles, it was measured in promotions, and it was predictable by tenure, okay? After 2 years as an analyst, you are due for promotion, okay? There were clear markers that made it easy to track progress in your career. Okay, you know that by the end of your 35-year career shifts or journey, you would, if you join the banking industry as an entry level, trainee, ET, you can retire as a what do you call it, the head of CBN. There's hope for you. Okay, but that formula no longer holds. Okay, today I think it was the first speaker who said the shelf life of knowledge is 5 years or less, right? The skills that are required for many jobs are shifting faster than traditional career paths can keep up. Okay, so also, on the flip side, more importantly, people no longer want careers that lock them into one single trajectory. All right. People now want control. They want the ability to pivot. They want the ability to explore and evolve on their own terms. Who says because you read geophysics or geology that you must work in the only industry that could probably accommodate you is the oil and gas industry. You must work in the oil and gas. You know, I read law, for example, and I've never stepped into a courtroom to represent any clients before. Okay. And it was intentional. I didn't find myself in HR by accident. I found myself here by choice. Conscious choices brought me to where I am. So, and again, on the flip side, also companies themselves routinely pivot to adapt to changes in the marketplace. So the job you are eyeing to get to in the next 5 to 10 years may no longer even exist in your company, may no longer even exist in your industry. All right. Automation, robotics, artificial intelligence are just about reshaping every job you see and you can imagine. Whatever job you can imagine, AI, technology is reshaping it. So that just says that, look, that job you're thinking of in the next 3, 4 years may not even be there. The company you're thinking of working in for the rest of your life may change. So you as a professional might as well be ready for the change on or before it happens. All right. But this does not mean that careers are rudderless or directionless. Okay. You can still craft a roadmap to your career. It's just that the roadmap will be different, okay? Rather than a profession-based roadmap where you pick a trade, okay, you're a lawyer, for example, you join a law firm as I think you join in as an associate, a legal associate, and then you grow, become manager, from legal senior manager, you become partner. Finally, you make partner in the law firm. Okay, that's a solid description of a profession-based roadmap. You pick a trade and you spend decades advancing in that trade. However, today's careers, they follow a different path. You pick a skill, all right, and then you develop that skill, and then you apply that skill in different ways. And whilst all this while, you continuously adapt that skill to new opportunities. Okay. So it's no longer about your career. It's no longer about what you studied in school. It's no longer about the certification you have. I think I got my SPHRI certification. Now it's about 10 years ago because it was sometime in 2015. Yeah. So it's 10 years ago. How many of us know? As at then, when I got the SPHRI certification, Godfather, you recall back then it was called HRMP. I got my certification when it was still referred to as HRMP, not SPHRI. Do you think that knowledge is still relevant today? Of course not. The knowledge from the HRMP certification is obsolete. Life has taken over that body of knowledge. Life has rewritten the playbook. The rules of the game are completely different as at when I acquired that certification. So if I'm still relying on that certification in this world of work, I think I belong in a museum, as some obsolete artifacts that people will pay money to come and take a look at me. Okay, so you apply the skill, you hone the skill, you adapt the skill, and you apply it to different opportunities, the life of opportunities that you would, come across. Okay, so let me tell you this to wrap up this slide, okay? We need to realize that in order to do serious and valuable work, you don't have to be employed anymore, okay? That's something to take note of. You don't have to have only one job, okay? The days where moonlighting was a crime is long dead. I mean, I interview lots of Gen Zs. I've been interviewing lots of them of recent. Do you know that Godfather, there was a candidate, right? The candidate gave pay expectation on the condition that he will come to the office once a week, right? I'm serious, sir. I offered to double what he expressed as pay expectation if he would come to the office 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Candidate said no. Give me is 100% increase, sir. He turned down the 100% increase for the opportunity to just be required to come to the office once a week. And I asked why. He said he has other jobs that he's not going to stop doing. So from interview, candidates are already telling you that, sir, this job you are interviewing me for is not the only job I have. I will not resign where I am to take up your job, and you can take it or leave it. So, as HR professionals, if we're still wearing the old school hats, I mean, if I may borrow from the good book, you are pouring new wine into old wineskins. It's not going to work. So yes, to thrive in today's job world, you don't need to have only one job. It's not required. You don't need to work full time on one job either. Okay. And you also do not need to be physically present in order to get a job done. So yeah, this is why many people are saying goodbye to the job for life concept and are making space to the life of jobs. And it's a completely new mindset, completely new way of living, and a completely new way of working. So we've agreed that change is not a matter of if, but when. And when people make this, I mean, sometimes change happens to you, or sometimes you make the change yourself. You are the change agent yourself. But sometimes life happens and we have no choice but to adapt and change as life continues to evolve at an ever increasing pace. But there are two factors that determine when these career transitions happen. Okay, they could be intrinsic or extrinsic, either internal or external factors that push us to this precipice of career changes. And we'll look at some of the internal factors. Number one, job dissatisfaction. Sometimes people feel that they are working a deadbeat job, okay, and they don't see a future in that job and they're just dissatisfied. They want to grow. Maybe you feel you've hit a plateau or you've hit a glass ceiling in your current role or your current job. So you desire a change, okay? And sometimes some people are driven by the desire to do something new. They want to acquire a new skill, a new certification. They take on more responsibilities and they explore other areas of work. I'll give a practical example. Precisely 10 years ago, I was working with the Nigerian Stock Exchange then. And during the town hall, our CEO, a then CEO of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, he shared his career story. And interestingly, the CEO of the Nigerian Stock Exchange then, he said he started his career in IT, okay? And he had reached the zenith of accomplishments in that chosen career field, okay? He'd hit the zenith and he was at his peak and he was still young. He felt he had more to offer, he had more to give. Do you know what he did? He said he stooped to conquer, right? He started learning finance, okay? And then he made a pivot then from IT, where he was at the top of the food chain, right? And he made the switch to finance, where he had to start not necessarily at the bottom, but he had to start, at some mid-level point. It was a pay cut, it was a a cut in job title. Maybe you're a CIO, Chief Information Officer, and then you now take an associate level job in finance. Okay. It was a classic case of stooping to conquer. But when he took that course to start, not literally starting afresh, but he started again, he made a pivot. Look at where he grew to. He grew to heading, the largest exchange in Africa as at that time. He grew to becoming the CEO of, the stock exchange in Nigeria. So that was as a result of his initial dissatisfaction with where he was. And that egged him and motivated him to make that career pivot, which, I mean, his life is better off for it today that he made that pivot when he made it some odd almost 20 years ago. All right. Sometimes the pivot may be as a result of changing your values or priorities. Okay. So as people evolve, so also your values, your priorities may change. Maybe when you started your career, you were single, you were unmarried, and you were ready to give all that was demanded of you in your career. And now maybe you're married, family is more important, and maybe your job is something that keeps you on the road, keeps you mobile. What was once exciting, okay, you enjoy the adrenaline, but right now you're in a phase of your life where you think you need to grow roots. You no longer want to be a rolling stone and you want to make a pivot. By the way, a career pivot may not necessarily be just changing jobs. You may pivot from paid employment to running your own business. All right. And vice versa, you could pivot from running your own business back into paid employment. It may just be that, oh, you needed control of your life and you didn't think the 9 to 5 was giving you that kind of control over your life that you needed at that time. Okay. It could also be as a result of burnout. I mean, prolonged periods of stress, exhaustion, can just prompt somebody to say, look, you can't handle the fast-paced work environment anymore. You want a career path that's, is a little more laid back. Maybe you transition. I've seen people transition from private sector to public sector because they just need a change of pace. All right. So these are different intrinsic factors that can lead you to decide to take on a career transition. But then sometimes change is imposed on us. It's not our decision, but it just happens. As they say, life happens. So changes in technology, okay, the economic shifts, evolving industries can create new opportunities and make certain roles obsolete. So practical, I think this is the most practical example. The job, once upon a time, I don't know people now, in our days then in school, there was a course called business studies. And one of the topics in business studies that they used to teach then was typewriting. In fact, schools back then had a typewriting lab where it was a room full of typewriters, right? And they were teaching students how to use the typewriter once or twice every week. All right, to type, boop, 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 boop. Then you slap the carbon. I knew, if you talk of carbon paper now, it's only a godfather and a few people that know what carbon paper. If I say carbon paper, do the Gen Zs on this call here know what carbon paper is? Who knows what carbon paper? When you're talking of these things, they will not be able to relate. We bring carbon paper from home, every week I go home, I tell my mom, mommy, the carbon paper you gave me last week is finished because the school will not provide carbon paper for you to learn typewriting. Of course, you had job roles back then called typists. Godfather, you remember then? Typists. We used to hire, at least that was before my time. Sir, your time, I'm sure you used to hire typists for companies, job role called typists. So those jobs, what happened to those jobs? Those jobs, okay, yeah, thank you. So those jobs, job of typists, they don't exist anymore. So if you were a typist back in the day, if you did not make a career transition, Godfather says we had one for every ED or MD back then. Exactly. So if you were a typist, back in those days, and you did not prepare for a career transition, life would leave you behind. Sometimes um, company restructuring could lead certain roles to become redundant. Okay, mergers, acquisitions, layoffs, would force many individuals to seek or explore new career paths. So we reskill, we upskill, and that keeps us relevant in the world of work. Sometimes financial circumstances, okay, you find out that, look, no matter how hard you work at this job, you will not be able to meet your financial goals. And you decide that, hey, in order to meet up with your bills, you need to transit to another role, okay? Um, Personal circumstances like relocation, family responsibilities, even health issues could necessitate a career transition. Okay, you network, you have mentors. Merely by expanding your network or seeking guidance from mentors can open doors to new career opportunities and career paths. I did not start off my career as a HR professional. Okay, I had mentioned that I'm a lawyer by education. Okay. Whilst I knew I didn't want to practice law, initially I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And it took, a coach and a mentor to sit me down. And after several sessions, that was when, we jointly arrived at the HR career path. And that was the moment I started chasing the HR career path for me. That was when I made my career transition. Yes, I made it early on, maybe about about 2 years into my career. That's when I made the pivot to transit from what I was doing to HR. But that would not have happened if I didn't have a mentor. Mr. Shino and I think, yes, even Mr. Frederick also spoke about the role of mentors in our career. So I don't need to overflog that issue. So here are some tips when you decide to make the bold step to make the transition. Okay. First of all, and we'll talk about this in detail in further slides. Assess your current skills and interests. Okay. Mr. Frederick talked about your ikigai, and I think he did awesome justice to this, and I don't need to rehash what he said. But after assessing your current skills and interests, research the desired field, okay? Don't go there blind. Oh, I just want to go into, I want to go into finance without researching the finance industry, knowing the skill sets that are required, seek guidance, leverage on transferable skills, okay? Having done maybe 8 to 9 years in marketing, and then you want to come into HR, you're not necessarily going to start off at the bottom of the food chain in HR because you have some transferable skills, presentation skills, communication skills, leadership skills, that even as a HR professional would be useful. All right. Stay resilient. Okay. Embrace continuous learning. If you're going to move from one career path or one profession to another, you would definitely need to unlearn, learn, and relearn. Okay? You need to find out that you need to realize that what you knew is not going to take you to where you are going to. So you need to learn what you need to know to get to where you're going to. And then these are some steps to overcome those challenges that we will naturally face when we embark on a career transition. Fear of the unknown will happen. So, many times when you're doing things that you've never done before, it's only natural that you feel fear because you're treading uncharted terrain. Okay. So my own advice, if you ever feel afraid, is do it scared, okay? Whether you're scared or not, just do it. If you are scared, that's fine. Still do it scared. And it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to feel fear. It just shows that you are human. You're a human being. But what is not okay is for you to allow your fear stop you from doing what you need to do. All right. Have a growth mindset, okay? Cultivate the mindset that embraces continuous learning. Yes. Take strategic steps. Take small, calculated actions that will move you forward in your career transition journey. Okay. Seek support. Please, I've said this before, and other speakers have said it. You cannot successfully make a career transition without the support of mentors or coaches through that journey. And finally, embrace the discomfort. There will be challenges, there will be sacrifices that may need to be made. You may need to adjust your lifestyle, pending when a career transition is like starting a new business. You first of all will take time to break even before you start making a profit. Okay. The same thing with a career transition. Sometimes you may need to stoop to conquer. You may need to accept a lower job title in your new career path and the discomfort that comes with it. Who is this small girl that just graduated 5 years ago? That is a baby to me. Now you have to take instructions from this particular person. Do you know that it's not even limited to just career? You may change. So many times I've spoken to many friends and colleagues who left, who jackpot out of Nigeria, they traveled abroad. And you know that sadly, there's some form of discrimination. I don't know why they don't count. You may have 17 years HR experience in Nigeria, okay, and you travel abroad, they will discount your experience. So you will start off with a junior role. Okay, one small boy or one small girl will be giving you instructions. It's a discomfort actually, but it's a temporary discomfort. So embrace the temporary discomfort. I'm going to try and pick up the pace so that we can manage time. So these are the steps. So enough with the encouragement. This is the how, okay? We'll talk about the how to go about this, okay? I've mentioned assessing your current situation, okay? So look at where you are, and in analyzing your current situation, what are your values? What are your skills? What are your interests? What are your goals? Then you assess what are the gaps, okay? And then what action plan do you have in place to address those gaps, okay? And that's it. I think this just talks about it in detail, identifying your values. What do you, this is, I mean, this refers to the Ikigai that Mr. Frederick and the Godfather mentioned. So I'm not going to rehash or re-echo this. So all these, but I think I'll talk about setting. Okay, yes, Mr. Frederick also talked about setting goals. So I don't think I need to overflow this. He mentioned your goals being specific, measurable, relevant, and time bound, and identifying gaps. So let's say in the choosing career path, the career path you're choosing rather, okay. A skill you need to acquire is data analysis. Your current level is your beginner. What is required of you to become a data analyst is advanced level of proficiency in data analysis. So what is the gap description? You need formal training. You need to enroll in P4PE's data analysts program, okay? And then how long will it take to acquire this competency? Ideally, you now develop an action plan, okay? So enroll in P4PE data analysis course, okay? Timeline, 3 months. And then where are you currently? That is what you need to do. And then you now look at reflecting. So do you have the skills? I've talked about this. Several speakers have talked about this, so I won't go into that. But I'll mention seeking feedback. It's important. You have people who can be brutally honest with you, either mentors, career coaches, or colleagues you respect. Okay. Then you explore other options and plan, research the different career paths, network. Shino mentioned networking, and he has done justice to networking. So I don't need to rehash that. This is the advantage of being the last speaker, so people have already laid the foundation. Somebody else has built the first floor, second floor. I'm just putting the roof here. So I have the liberty not to re-echo what previous speakers have already done justice to. But I will say, consider that you have transferable skills, have an action plan, and regularly evaluate the action plan. I was going to talk about personal branding and positioning, but again, Mr. Shino, he did wonderful justice to this. It doesn't make sense for me to re-echo this. So my previous speakers, thank you very much for making my job so easy, okay? But I will say that as a professional, you do have a personal brand, okay? You can leverage your brand to help position yourself. And let me tell you something. Once you've decided that, hey, you want to go into, say, finance, okay? Do you know that you need to rebrand and reposition yourself for this new career path that you have chosen? So, you repackage your CV, obviously. You rebrand your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn handle. And if you have thoughts leadership content that you usually used to put out, you now need to start generating thought leadership materials in the new career path that you're positioning yourself to take advantage of, okay? So if you have a personal website or portfolio, you can start building that. Your LinkedIn, you optimize your LinkedIn profile, attend industry forums and events. Again, Mr. Shino, you've already done justice to branding and positioning yourself. I don't need to re-echo or rehash this, but I will talk about job search strategies and applications. I remember when I made the switch from my previous career, my previous life to my current life in HR. I had to start making new friends, okay? I had to start making friends in HR. The first thing I did, my first circle of influence was my church. I just started seeking out all the HR professionals in church, and I started becoming friends with them. Say, he that walks with the wise is wise, okay? So I started seeking out wise men in HR. I started following HR professionals on LinkedIn. I started attending HR trainings, okay? That's how I met the HR godfather. I met him by attending his training sessions, okay? Customize your CV for each role you want to apply for within your chosen career path, and prepare extensively for these interviews, okay? And I think it's important to mention that I mentioned this earlier, that entrepreneurship is also an alternative career path. So starting a business or freelancing, monetizing a hobby that you have or a side hustle. I know somebody who's an internal auditor and he's a part-time DJ. He owns the DJ equipment and he does it by the side. I know another internal control person who no, it's not DJ. What's it that he does again? Oh yeah, he's a photographer. Exactly. So he owns a camera, and when he has gigs, he takes those days off. He will apply for leave. He goes, he does his shoots for clients. And I even had an intern who was in the HR department, and he owned his own photo studio by the side. So these are alternative career paths that you can explore. You can create your own career path as a side gig, okay? Create your career path as a side gig without waiting on your company to create the career path for you. So entrepreneurship is a journey of opportunities and challenges, okay? We're almost done. Overcoming setbacks. So be actively optimistic. I'm an incurable optimist. When I've made up my mind to do something, you cannot convince me otherwise. I'm just an incurable optimist, okay? I expect nothing but the best. Take decisive action. ensure you have a moral compass. You do not make sacrifices that you're not supposed to make. You need to be relentlessly tenacious and rely on interpersonal support. Have a strong support system. In conclusion, I would say that embracing change leads to growth. All right. Taking calculated risks and trusting the process would lead to success. And you need to begin by implementing your career transition plan. So I'd say planning to do something is not doing it. Confessing that you do something is not doing it. Praying that you will do something is not doing it. All right. Discussing that something you want to do is still not doing it. The only thing that is doing it is doing it. Okay. So, whatever it is you want to achieve in your career, like the Nike motto, just do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Thank you very much. Again, another awesome session and presentation, helping us to appreciate how we can chart this particular job. Please, friends on the call, share your emojis, share your thanks and appreciation to Patrick on the chat box. Interestingly, while you were speaking, my mind was running around trying to decipher, okay, some of our mentees that reach out to us, how best do we help them to drive career pivots? Quite a lot of individuals are actually stuck. Stuck either because they are not too sure what the next direction could be, or they are stuck because they have developed affinity for the old way of career, for the old way of work, so to speak. Yes, and that is causing some serious concern in those areas. Let me kind of share my slide once again. I want to share a thought from a particular question somebody sent earlier. Maybe that can help in this particular discussion. So somebody had mentioned earlier that he is struggling with certain signs that he knows he needs to transit at this point in time. But how do I know if I am ready to change? So how do we know that it is time for us to change career? What are some signs you might suggest for us to look out for, that it is a good time for us to consider switching our career, either switching organization, switching job, or switching an entire line completely? What are some signs that you think we should look out for?
Okay. So first of all, like I said during the presentation, there are two reasons or two major factors that feed to a desire for a career transition. Okay. First of all, there are the intrinsic factors. Okay. The intrinsic signs will be you're currently dissatisfied with your job. Have you hit a plateau? Have you gotten to a point where there is no next level? Okay. Have you hit a glass ceiling in your career? All right. And if you feel you have hit that zenith and you still have more fights in you, then it may be a sign that you need to make a change in your career. Another reason could be, look, you want to grow. Okay. It may even be a change in your value. Okay. It may be you're burnt out, you're exhausted in your current career path, and you need a change to maybe something less or something more demanding. And then I also mentioned extrinsic factors like market changes, financial circumstance changes, or even changes to your personal circumstance that are all clear indicators. It's like handwriting on the wall that, look, you either change or change will happen to you. So it's not just a gut feeling decision, right? Yes, gut feeling has a role to play in all of this too, but you must be guided by those intrinsic or extrinsic factors before you decide to make a pivot in your career journey. Hello, sir. Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. There's a question here from Louis. Louis says, how do you work around the fact that your Monday to Friday job does not allow you to do something else? That's a very practical question. And I agree with you that in some circumstances, your 9 to 5, Monday to Friday doesn't allow you or to do some other things, but you can start those other um, options on the low by the side as a gig part-time. Okay. I mean, after your 9 to 5, you do it by the side and you grow it gradually. Okay. I have a business now, but I've been flirting with this business idea, or I started it on the low over 4 years ago. All right. But the time to launch into it fully, like I am doing now, even though I have my full-time paid employment, it was not yet time. So, Louis, I would also tell you, start baby steps where you are. You will know when the time comes for you to go launch out into the deep. You will know when the time comes for you to give it much more attention than you are currently able to give it. So don't rush, start with where you are, and then let the natural growth happen. Okay. All you need to do is maintain, be diligent, be consistent, and growth will naturally happen. Right. Any other question, comments?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. I think my network threw me out at that. Go ahead. You can take the
Louis
next
says,
question.
yeah, how do you also cope with a boss who wants you to do just his job and does not want you to do something else, even with your weekends, holidays, and free time? Um, I've dealt with this, and Louis, I'm going to give you a practical answer. See that side business you are doing. Practically, whenever you are, this is my own is an advice. See everybody in your office, mute them from seeing your WhatsApp status. And everybody in your office, block them from all your social media accounts. Okay. So you keep your personal and your professional lives separate. You need to run a clear demarcation. All right. So whatever you do, yes, I know some employers, they believe because they pay you a salary, they own you hook, line, and they own you lock, stock, and barrel. Okay. But keep what is Peter's, keep what is Paul's. Okay. Do not use your employer's time to do your personal business unless you have permission to do so, right? I have taken some form of permission to be here today. Okay. So what's it called? With your personal time, when it's your personal time, your holidays and free time, whatever you do, keep it private. It's not yet time for anybody to know because it will cause some issues for you. So I will just tell you, please, your LinkedIn accounts, do not follow anybody from your office. Yeah. Your WhatsApp status, please mute, block, not mute them permanently from viewing your WhatsApp status. Okay. If you have if you can, have a separate office line, have a separate personal phone line. So on your office line, you post office related things. On your personal line, you post your personal related things, and you ensure clear demarcation between both sides of your life. I don't know if that helps, Louis. That's the only way you can have, yeah.
All right, thank you. I also a similar experience in that particular area. One of my old-time mentors, Funke Amobi, some of you might know her. She's a veteran in the HR space. Each time I ask her to do something for me, whether it is a facilitation, a speaking, or a sharing, she will get permission from her organization, even if it is a weekend job, as the case is, or even if it is okay, just join us for a few sessions, something like that. She always gets an official communication and then writes us and says, okay, that her organization has permitted her to do it. At some earlier time, I used to think she was overdoing it. But later, I realized that it's a pure respect for ethics within your profession. And it really makes you extremely professional, such that it endears you to your organization, that they can trust you, they can count on you at that point in time. And professionally also, it makes others see you in a light that you are not just anyhow person, as the case is at that time. Thank you, Louis, for raising up that question. And thank you, Patrick, for the voice that you have added to answer it. One more concern that was raised here. Yes, one more concern. Somebody was asking, what if I am ready to switch career? But there is a feeling of stigma. If I tell my friends or my network or my family that I'm switching career, the way they will look at me will make me look very, very somehow. So perhaps I am switching from HR to real estate, or I am switching from sales to manufacturing. That perhaps they will look at me funnily, as the case is. What do you think such people should do?
Okay, so first of all, I'll say this. One of the obvious signs of maturity, is a reduced concern for the perception of people. And it will surprise you that the people that matter don't mind. The people that mind are the ones that really don't matter. But this does not negate the importance of having a support system around you. All right. There are some people that you need in your corner when making an important decision like a career transition. It's not a decision you make half-cocked, right? It's not something you jump into half-cocked, right? So I would say this to you. If I were making a career transition from HR to finance, I'm married, I would need to inform my wife. Somebody gave birth to me, somebody trained me. I would need to okay, I don't need to inform my wife. I need to, what's it in the racy chat? There are some people, what's it, sir? You were my project, I did project management with you again. In that stakeholder management matrix, right? What the word again? It skipped my mind.
They contacted.
Some people
contacted.
Some people just is for their information, right? But some people you need their blessing. Some people you need their support. Some people you need their sponsorship. Okay? Look, those that just need to be, if I'm making a career transition, for example, if you are not my, for example, HR Godfather is a mentor to me. I remember one day, sir, my HR strategy for the year, I brought it to him and I showed him all the things I wanted to deliver. And Godfather looked at everything, said, oh, this is nice, this is beautiful, but you're taking on too much. And I was heartbroken. I said, as my mentor is telling me I'm doing too much. He told me to scale it down, that I'm biting off more than I can chew. And luckily I did. And even after scaling it down, reality dawned later on that I still bit off more than I could chew. So my answer is this: some people, you need to sell the idea to them. If you fail to sell the idea to them, maybe the idea is not really the best option. Okay? So there are some decisions in your life that you make that you cannot do it alone. You must have your support system in your corner. And in life, we are salesmen. It's not only Burna Boy that is selling dreams to Sophia. We need to sell whatever it is we want to achieve to the people that matter. If you fail to sell it to them, then question the idea. Go back to the drawing board. Re-strategize. Look, I remember when I was buying, I'll end on this note. I was about to buy a particular asset once upon a time. And my wife warned me. She was against it. She said, no, she doesn't agree. She's not in support. I had to sell that dream to her. Because at the end of the day, she is a key stakeholder. It took me time. It took me a couple more months it set me back by a couple of months than I planned. But that setback was to ensure that my support system is in my corner and not in the opponent's corner. So that's my advice. So it's a delicate balance. Those that just need to be inform them. But those that need to be carried along, ensure you do all to carry them along. I hope I did justice to that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Once again, everyone, do say thank you, especially to Patrick for the wonderful session and all he has shared with us. Thank you, Patrick, again. And
thank you, sir.
The first step again.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, sir. Always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Good. Earlier in the week, we shared a session on generative AI for the HR department. If you're considering AI, and I think you should consider AI because it is transformative for your role in various careers. So if you're within the HR space, there is a documented 6 hours of session on how to use AI in various parts of HR. Please, you can access that particular content by visiting the website and learning about this particular program. In our normal spirit, next month, we shall start off next month with a webinar on the future of work with AI. We shall be looking at various trends in AI and best practices. We'll discuss how you will be able to use AI to develop your career, to build the work you're doing, to be highly productive, and also to use it in a responsible way. We shall also look at the potential implications of the use of AI. Stay tuned with us next month as we review this particular course again. I want to use this opportunity to thank the entire team who behind the scene has helped us to ensure that this particular summit has been successful. And it gives us the opportunity to understand that, yes, it is possible, we can deliver value, we can help everyone to be able to advance in their career. This particular recording will be available on YouTube so that you can access it. If you want the materials, you need to access it through the ProVarsity website, and then they will provide you with that. If you want a certificate of the program, also on ProVarsity, you will access it at that point in time. Thank you all once again. Until next time, this is the end of this particular session. Bye-bye.